Still, I know the world's on fire. The situation.
7:20 is the time. Let's wake up Wyoming. Off we go to the phones where your Congresswoman Harriet Hageman is waiting by. I hope that you're all well in the madness of what is Washington, D.C.
Well, I'm feeling good, if that's what you mean.
That's all we can count on here. Plenty of things to talk about. Let's go ahead and get right to them. The first one that really had an interest to me because it's been a big topic here in the state of Wyoming. The Bureau of Land Management with their easement plan, of course, you can imagine the stress it's causing. Where are we at with that?
Well, the comment period is still open, and I think that there's going to be an effort to continue to push back against it. We will continue to push back against it here to the extent that we can. Clearly, this is part of the agenda. This is part of the 30 by 30 agenda. This is an effort by the Biden administration to stop us from being able to access our resources, not only the surface estate, but the subsurface estate. This is the war on energy. This is the Tracy Stone Mannings of the world. She's an eco-terrorist who's been put in charge of the BLM. This is her agenda to basically turn Wyoming into a national park at the same time of pursuing their policy of energy poverty. And in light of what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in the world, the idea that we would continue to put our own resources off limits is absolutely ludicrous.
Okay, so we do have a comment period still going on right now. This is pretty much, I guess, up to the bureaucracy at this point. Is that what the Biden administration is doing this through?
Yes, it's through the BLM. It's through the Department of Interior. And again, you have Deb Haaland at the helm of that agency. Another radical. I wouldn't even call her an environmentalist. She's just a radical. I have had many opportunities to question these people. They talk a lot about environmental justice and things like that. They never define those terms. They never define what they mean. They talk about equity. But whenever I ask them about how does your environmental justice relate to your policy of energy poverty, they look at me like a deer in headlights. Like, well, but we're going through a transition. Yes, things are a little bit more expensive right now, but we're going through a transition, and someday it's going to be better, but they never tell me when it's going to get better, and they never tell me how. By having these massive, massive subsidies for unreliable energy is going to make anybody's life better. It is just failed policy.
I still am waiting for the day that Congress finally takes back all of this power that's been given to the bureaucracy, because they should not be the ones making law.
I agree, and I had this very discussion with numerous people over the last 3 or 4 days. As you know, Glenn, this is my bailiwick, and it's something that I have been fighting for decades as a private attorney and continue to fight it back here. I'm making a push with anybody who's running for example for the Speaker of the House. What are we going to do about this? How do we fix this? What do we do? What's our next step? So I'm with you on that.
So the Speaker of the House position, we thought there might be one soon, but Scalise, I heard, dropped out.
He did.
Okay, so what are we left with at this point?
Well, so I'm heading in very shortly here, and I believe that Jim Jordan still has his name in the hopper. I don't know if there is anyone else, but we're going to get back together and see if we can get to 217 votes. Okay.
Now, with the Democrats, of course, they're not going to vote. I think Democrats, rightfully so and gleefully so, are afraid of Jim Jordan. So I don't think that they're going to vote for this guy. Does that give you enough votes to put him in as Speaker?
We have enough Republican votes if we stick together.
Okay.
And that was the issue with Steve, is that Steve didn't have the 217. I love Steve. I think that he is a very good man. I think that the conference, from what I can tell, is wanting to go a different direction.
Okay. All right. So we just kind of wait and see. Again, you're going to go in and do this. Any idea when this could happen, or we just kind of wait and see at this point?
We are in a wait and see mode.
Okay.
And I was hoping this would happen on Wednesday. And one of the suggestions I had when we had our vote at that time, I suggested that we vote to determine whether Steve has a 217. We didn't go that route. I thought we should have. I thought we needed to have that question answered before we left the room. That didn't happen. I do think that is what's going to happen now. I think that we will get together and there will be a vote and there will be a multitude of votes, if necessary, to make sure that we have someone when we walk out of the room.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm not in leadership. I'm just giving you my thoughts and ideas, but I'm hoping that that's what will.
Well, you're not in leadership yet, but we're counting on you. Just tossing that out there. Okay, so let's real quick go overseas here. Let's talk about Israel. And it's been, I shouldn't say this on the air, which is why I'm going to say it. I have just been delighted at members of the squad getting chased down the hallway with questions about Hamas, who they have supported in the past. So when it comes to Israel, I know, of course, we as Americans are, as a whole anyway, most of us, supporting Israel in this conflict. But when I take a look at it from your seat, what can you do from your seat? Is there going to be any aid or help like we might do from Ukraine?
Well, we have to, and it's one of the reasons why we need to be having these discussions about what we are doing on an international basis, because we have to make sure that as we spend our money and our treasure and our resources, that they are in the best interest of the United States and world order when we do that. And that's not been the debate surrounding Ukraine. That's been one of the battles and one of the real disagreements back here, is that it's almost that there's this kind of a proxy war that we've been fighting on the Ukraine issue, but we've not been having the real debate as to whether that is where our resources should be spent. In Israel, in the Middle East, I think that that's a different story. I think that most people do believe that it is in our best interest, our best strategic interest, to have a Middle East that is much calmer than what we're seeing right now. One of the problems that we have with not having a speaker is we're not able to pass legislation, resolutions of support, and then also address the issue of aid to Israel. I will say this. The House, because we did a lot of our work, have already done our work in terms of appropriations, what people don't realize, or they try to ignore, we have passed 4 appropriations bills out of the House, and they have gone to the Senate, and they've been languishing over there. Those 4 appropriations bills fund about 70% of our government. The remaining 8 appropriations bills fund about 30% of our government. Within that 70%, those 4 appropriations bills, because we took up defense issues first, we have already appropriated by the House $3.8 billion for Israel. That's sitting in current bills. But the Senate, the Democrat-controlled Senate, won't take them up. So when people are always saying, you don't do your job, why aren't you working on the appropriations? We have been, and we have set 4 bills over there already. We're begging the Senate to please take those up because, again, they deal with national defense. One of them is the National Defense Authorization Act. And there's $3.8 billion sitting right in those bills right now that if the Senate were to pass them out, that money could start going to Israel immediately.
All right. Congresswoman, thanks for coming on this morning. I'll let you go back to work. Appreciate your time. Of course, Wyoming enjoys hearing from you from time to time, so call in whenever you need to.